Welcome, everybody, to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by Hockey Think Tank U, a community of passionate players, parents, and coaches where you can go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. The community is absolutely buzzing. We got over 250 members of passionate hockey coaches, passionate hockey parents from all over North America. We just actually had last night Christian Hansen on for our monthly masterclass, and it was an amazing conversation. If you don't remember Christian, he is the son of a Hansen brother. So that's a pretty cool thing, but also he had an unbelievable path to the NHL. And was an undrafted kid, was a guy who actually, his draft story is, oh man, it was hard, like really, really hard. I would encourage everybody to go back to listen to that podcast, but basically because he was the son of a Hansen brother and he was supposed to get drafted, they had a TV crew there and everything, and he ended up not getting drafted. And so but he persevered, went to Notre Dame, didn't play much right away, and persevered, eventually signed an NHL contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And so it was really cool for community members, and if they have kids, to get on to just kind of hear that story and be inspired about a way that they can follow their dreams. Great segue to our guest that we had this week. And I won't speak to it quite yet. I'll let Vex get in here too, but our guest this week is Evan Ritt. And when I say that this was one of my favorite conversations in the 7+ years that we've been doing this is one of my favorite conversations in the 7+ years that we've been doing this. And so Evan is a Colorado boy who took the long way to become a national champion at the University of Denver. Got cut multiple times along the way, started hockey late, asked to be a part of the University of Denver halfway through the year when he was playing junior hockey, and ended up being a huge contributor. Didn't play much his first 3 years, but as a senior was a huge contributor to the team winning the national championship. And now he has founded a shoe company called Tolos, just incredible shoes too on top of it. And certainly we talked about how he used the life lessons that he learned in his journey to where he got to, and how he has developed an incredible business now. And so, man, honestly, one of my favorite conversations. But before we do get over to that, let's bring on one of my favorite guys, one Jeffrey Lavecchio. Vex, it's go time for you, baby. How's things going?
Going well, man. It's going well. We had our first workout last night in one of the gyms that I just renovated here in St. Louis. It's one of my partnership gyms with the St. Louis Sting, Central States organization here. And man, I don't know if you've seen it. I think maybe I sent you a picture of the one that's blue and with the cool lights up top. And
it's sick. Yeah,
man. Oh, dude, it's just, I want to create spaces for players that when they come in the gym, they feel special. It's a cool place. It's like an environment that they want to be in. And that's why, it took me, I thought it was going to take me 2 weeks. It took me about 6 to get it all done and where I wanted it to be for the boys. But we got it done. And last night was the first workout in there. And my coach, who also went to Denver and was a national champion, Jack Caruso, 2-time national champion. He's the coach in there. Was sending me pictures last night and telling me about how the boys' eyes were lighting up when they walked in. And for me, that's what it's all about. Because if they want to be in there, they're going to get more results because they want to be in there, and they're going to give more when they're in there. So, it's really cool for me, bro, because, I had to come and live with you when I was 15 and a half because there was no training in St. Louis, and every scout in the world was telling me, you got a shot, but you're way too weak to play junior hockey. You need to get stronger. And we had no programs that had off-ice training. We had nobody who was like a guy who played higher level hockey that was also a strength coach that was only working with hockey players here in St. Louis. And so it's always been my goal to build these gyms here for these kids, and to see this one come out the way that it did. It's pretty cool, man.
It's bumping. It's bumping. It's cool on the other side, not being in it, but just seeing it big picture and hearing you talk about it, years ago and what this vision was. And it's cool, man. Your why is pretty awesome. Like your why
Thanks,
is I want kids to have more opportunities than I did in St. Louis. So they don't have to do what you did and leave home and all these kinds of things. And that's one of the things that I love about women's hockey too. I think women have such a desire to make the game better than where they had it, growing up and having 3 daughters, and you're a girl dad too. Like that's something we certainly appreciate. And yeah, it's really, really cool. And I think that this conversation we're having right now is a great dovetail into the conversation we had with Evan. And I know I said it earlier, guys, but like, man, this conversation, his story, his journey, his honesty, it's like, there were times where I'm listening to him and I'm kind of tearing up, and I'm an emotional guy, but like, it is what it is. Like it was inspiring. It was thought-provoking. It gave us a lot of perspective. And I think, for a lot of the kids that are listening to this, that have dreams of playing at higher levels, this is probably the path you're going to take, or some version of this. Very few people are the Hughes brothers, who you were destined to get there at a young age. And so resilience and these life skills, like that's what it takes. And so I think this is a great window into somebody who had success. And also honestly, Vex, it's another byproduct of somebody who was kind of down and out, and somebody believed in him. There was somebody that believed in him. And how many people have we had on our podcast who have achieved some amazing things in this game at some point in their youth hockey career, felt like there wasn't a path or there wasn't a way? And there was somebody that convinced them. There was somebody that believed in him. There was somebody that was in their corner that helped him to do that. And he had that. And so I think that's a great just kind of message to all the adults out there listening too. Like, belief goes a long way for kids. And this was certainly a story of that too.
100%. And he's a soft-spoken guy, and he's a thoughtful guy and an introspective guy. And just to hear, guys, this guy wasn't even playing AAA hockey in Bantams. And a few years later, he's winning a national championship at Denver. I mean, the story is so cool. And it's just more proof that, like Toph said, if you have a goal in hockey, just because you don't achieve it when you see the guy on Instagram, who, by the way, is the one out of a billion, the Sidney Crosbys, the Hughes brothers, these guys who are destined for greatness, that is the exception. That is not the rule. No matter how much you see it on social media, that is not the rule. And if you want something, yeah, it might take you longer. It might be harder for you, but going through all of those tough times are the reason that I believe that somebody like an Evan Ritt has built the cool, unbelievable, impactful company that he has now after the game of hockey. And we talk about that all throughout this podcast. And I've been using his company's product since he dropped his first shoe, which I think, 2021, maybe 2022, tons of guys in my gym, tons of people in St. Louis wear his shoes, because I'm training, and I always try to train in public gyms to talk to, gym goers and help people and whatever. And they're always asked, dude, what are those shoes? What are those shoes? Discount code GMBM. What's up? But we got tons of people wearing them here in St. Louis too. And it's just, he's able to do what he is doing now because of the lessons that he learned in hockey. There's no doubt about it. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that anyone can take from this episode. And you guys are going to love it. Ritter, we thank you for your time. And you guys all check out his shoe company, Tolos. We talk about on the podcast, TOLOS, best barefoot shoes in the game. Discount code is GMBM to save that money.
There you go. I like it. Well, I don't want to spend any more time other than thanking the people we need to thank before we do get over to Ritter. And so want to thank, number one, first and foremost, our title sponsor, icehockeysystems.com, the best website out there for your coaching, parent, and player education needs, because they are not just for coaches anymore. They have family accounts and so much great information in there. If you're a coach, they got thousands of drills that you can take from, practice plans from really high level hockey people, the ability to go in there and actually draw up your drills digitally and send them out to your team before practice, and create a drill library for yourself that you can take, and a practice plan library that you can take, but not just for you as a coach. You can actually do this for every single coach in your association if you're an association director. And I know so many many people in the hockey world that have ice hockey systems, and it's an unbelievable value add, even more so now that they have family accounts, and there's so much great information in there for players and their development path, and for parents to help them in their development path. So go to icehockeysystems.com today and check that out. Jeffrey, Jehu, Jigo.
Want to give a massive thank you to Train Heroic, guys. Hundreds and hundreds of players training with me already this offseason online. Tons of teams and organizations from college to junior to midgets to youth organizations with my at-home program so that parents don't have to drop their players off. Guys, this stuff is worth so much more money than I put it out for. It is so cheap, and the goal is to help as many people as I possibly can who don't have somebody who knows how to actually train hockey players or who can't afford a strength coach to train their son or daughter. So whether you need an in-gym program or an at-home program, go to givemoretraining.com or go to my Instagram, click on it. Train Heroic makes all of this possible for me to help so many players yearly. So thank you to Train Heroic.
Train Heroic, boom. Also want to thank Helios Hockey. Helios Hockey, guys, is one of the best hockey development products out there. We believe in it so much. They have done such amazing things for kids in hockey. What is it? It is a sensor that you put into your shoulder pad that gives you real-time data, real-time feedback on your play, and specifically two parts of your play. Number one is your skating. If you want to play hockey at the high levels, you got to be able to skate at the end of the day. And so they got great development tools, great tracking metrics to be able to evaluate your skating and compare your skating to potentially other people that are on your team or that at your age group at your level. And so the other thing is a hustle score. And the kids absolutely love this competitiveness with a hustle score. Like I said, every time you move, that sensor goes and it gives you a little bit of a read on how hard you're working out there, how fast you're skating out there. And the kids absolutely love it. And not only that, but the kicker for Jeff and I is this syncs up with your video. And so again, as that sensor goes, it clicks on and it syncs with your video, whether it's an iPhone, an iPad, it's Live Barn, whatever it may be. And you can get your shifts for a game cut up for you directly after a game, have it right there on your tablet, have it right there on your phone. Or if you are interested in filming your practice and you want to see your reps in practice, it's a great developmental tool there. So go to helioshockey.com today, guys. This is an absolute must-have, no-brainer. And if you use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, you will get a 20% discount on your Pro Annual or your Pro 24-month subscription. Lastly, we would like to thank Crossbar. Crossbar is an end-to-end software solution that can help you streamline the operations of your youth hockey organization. And dude, like everybody that I know that has Crossbar, and we work with a lot of youth hockey associations, we talk to a lot of youth hockey association leadership, hockey directors, presidents of boards, and things like that. And Crossbar just makes your life so much easier. It's basically an all-in-one stop shop to streamline your operations for a club. So whether that's finances, whether that's scheduling, whether that's communications, whether that's volunteer management, like they have everything all under one roof, and it is a phenomenal product. So go to crossbar.org today and check that one out as well. And Jeffrey, I'm going to surprise you here. I want you to thank our listeners today. What do you got?
I love that. Let's go. Guys. We love you guys so much. We get so many messages from you guys about how we've helped with this or that. Like Toph said in the beginning, we're trying to leave the game better than we found it in every facet, and we won't stop talking about it. And, I personally don't care if I ruffle anybody's feathers that doesn't like the things that we talk about with the hard subjects, because we're here to, like we said, to leave the game better than we found it. So if you enjoy what we put out here, podcast, what Toph does with the Hockey Think Tank business and all of the tens of thousands of players that he winds up, touching with the things that he's doing with the organizations and the things we put online, like, please, man, like, share it, tell your organization, tell your team, tell the players on your team. Because all we're trying to do is just help people in a way that we know would have helped our careers as well. So thank you all. Please keep sharing. Please rate the podcast. Anything you do, comment on the Instagrams. You see that we're talking about the show. It only helps us get the word out more so we can get this game that we love so much back under control. So thank you all.
Love it. All right, guys. One of our favorite conversations that we've had in a long time. This was unreal. So without further ado, here we go with Evan Ritt. We are so excited to have on this episode of the podcast, a good Colorado boy. We got Evan Ritt. Ritter, how are we doing today, man?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. I did my smelling salts earlier. Vex,
I like it.
I did. If you don't mind me hopping in here quick. I was watching just like something on the internet, and some Cornell kid was shirtless and he was benching, and I went to the comments and just some anonymous profile was like, too much Lavecchio.
What?
I don't know. I was wondering if you had seen that. I don't know.
Laura, clip that. That's going on social media.
Oh man, I don't know where that is, but I love it.
Yeah, I know.
Shirts off, benching, Lavecchio. Yeah, actually, I shouldn't say benching.
We only dumbbell bench, but we don't barbell. But yeah, I still like it.
The funny thing is I didn't know where you're going with that, because I have a lot of boys that I played with at Cornell that love to be tarps off and love the bench press as well. So,
dude, you're a 16 to 22-year-old kid and you're pushing yourself in the gym. You pop the tarp, you feel electric. All right. Yeah. If it makes you go harder, I don't care. Good.
Yeah. I know.
Unreal.
Just an anonymous profile.
Well, Ritter, pumped to have you on here, man. And you got such a great story, hockey-wise, such a great story outside of hockey with what you're doing now with your shoe company. But let's bring it way back. You know, one of the things we ask to everybody that comes on, especially guys that have played at a high level, is just how you fell in love with the game. I know for me, pretty much everybody that I know that has played at a high level of hockey, you know, one of the biggest consistencies is they love this game of hockey. So growing up in Colorado, have to imagine the Avalanche had a part of that, but tell us how you fell in love with this great game.
Yeah, there was this huge boom after the 2001 Avs in Colorado where hockey wasn't that popular. And then the Avs came, and Sakic, Forsberg, Bork, Rob Blake, all those legends were there. And yeah, at the time I was like 5 or 6. And actually, no, by that time I'm 93. So I was 7, 8. But yeah, I was playing roller hockey and I just loved it. Like it was something I could do on my own. I loved like stick handling in my basement and shooting pucks. And it was something my dad and I did together. He started playing at the same time. So my hockey story is sort of a story with my dad where it's sort of him and I that went through it together. And so it's just super special for me because of that.
I love that so much. And it's so funny, Vex, like, you know, how many people have we interviewed at this point? I mean, it's a lot to say the least, but one thing is becoming increasingly clear to me. Like, and even if you're crazy, like even if your goal, you're a crazy hockey parent, is to make sure your kid makes the NHL or the PWHL, I think one of the best things that you can do is play hockey with your kid in the basement or the driveway. Honestly, like that develops more of a love for the game than maybe anything else outside of playing hockey with them on the pond, where it's like really, really taking it back. I remember when we interviewed Jimmy McGroarty and Rutger. Remember that, Vex? Yeah. And so for those that don't know, Jimmy, GM in the USHL, really respected guy in the hockey community. And Rutger, I had him at Michigan, first round draft pick. He's in the Penguins organization right now. And it was just so cool to have them both on the podcast talking about playing knee hockey in the basement and how that was like such a bonding thing for them and how it helped them to grow a love for the game on top of a love for each other, you know, father, son type of stuff. And so I just like, it's so interesting to hear you say that, especially since your dad never played. Like that was, you guys were both kind of learning and figuring it out at the same time. So can you dive a little bit more into that? Because honestly, like, and I'm doing it now, like my 6-year-old Lucy, she is starting to like get it really interested in hockey and starting to kind of ask me to go play in the basement. And like, man, like the fact that she's asking me to go down and play, like, I feel like that's the coolest thing in the world. And I will drop anything that I am doing. If I am on a podcast with you guys and she comes in here and says, Daddy, let's go play hockey. Vex, you got the
I'm on it.
But like, talk a little bit just about that relationship you built with your dad. And then maybe how, like those early days with you two kind of just getting into it, how that developed into maybe a different relationship or how that evolved as hockey got more serious as you got older.
Yeah. So like we didn't grow up, we didn't have like, we weren't very rich. We didn't have a ton. My mom had cancer, actually. She passed away when I was 16. And so,
Oh, sorry to hear that.
that's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay. I honestly, I think about it. I feel like I have an angel now, and it's actually really cool to have an angel. So, people are, and it's also hard to see your parents grow old. So we all go through it. Um, but yeah, so we were kind of like, we always, we didn't have a ton of money, but we were able to do stuff. Like if I wanted to play hockey, my dad was like, I'll figure it out and I'll make it happen. So I started playing roller hockey and Mighty Ducks. Me and my friend Kedrick would go play in the street. And I think I was like 7 years old. I started ice a little late, and my dad, he came in one day and he's like, "Hey, I signed you up for ice hockey." And I remember just like jumping for joy. I was so excited. And I went and I tried out for a local organization, got cut from the entire organization, went to another organization, made their very lowest team, just because nobody knew me. I was actually probably, I definitely could have played. But yeah, I just started playing and loving it. And my dad was the kind of guy, he would never go to coaches and be like, "Hey, what do you think about my kid?" He was always there, and I always felt his support from just being there, and always standing by the glass. But he was never a parent that was in the coach's ear. And in a lot of ways in my hockey career, as I got older, I saw a lot of kids where their parents were more involved and they were getting more opportunities. But in the end, I would never change it. Like everything that I got in my hockey career was, well, not everything, I mean, but I wasn't getting stuff because the coaches were buddy with my dad and stuff, and they always became friends with him. But we've always sort of had a you earn what you get type of mentality, and I definitely got that from my dad. And he was always, he wouldn't have wanted it any other way for me. So yeah, so that I don't really know where to go from there. I was just kind of, I started going off about.
It's awesome, man. No, just hearing you talk so glowingly about the relationship you have with your dad, especially going through some tough stuff, I'm sure, together. It's like, I wish, yeah, like this will go on YouTube, like people to see how cool this is, you know, for you to talk about him. And it takes a village, man. It takes a village. Nobody ever got there alone. And we've interviewed, again, hundreds and hundreds of high level hockey players at every level. And I think 99% of them, it was a supportive car ride home. It was all about support, you know? So I love that. I absolutely love that. Well, let's dive a little bit more into your hockey journey here, Ritter, because everybody's got a different path. Everybody's got a different path. And, you know, you are a kid who certainly did not take the traditional path to being a national champion at the University of Denver. You know, you played 2 years of U18 hockey, a year in the North American League, start off the next year in the USPHL, and then Denver brings you in halfway through the year and you play half a year as a freshman. But like that is certainly not what everybody thinks happens to get to a school like the University of Denver or Division I in general. You know, you got to play 8U AAA, you know, and then go to all these crazy lengths to be able to do it. But if you can, like, thinking about your journey that got you to Denver, what really sticks out? You know, 2 years of midget hockey at 18U, a couple different leagues in juniors, you know, that weren't the top leagues. Like what sticks out in your journey?
Yeah, so I was always kind of an underdog, like especially in the state. I wasn't playing for the teams that were winning state. I was playing for the teams. I was the captain of the team that got second every year. And I wasn't getting good looks out of the state to go to, like, for individual, like going to regionals and going to nationals. That just never really happened for me. I was undersized. I was probably the last kid to grow. I was like 4 foot tall going into high school. I was just a little shrimp. And
easy talk. Easy. Preaching the choir over there.
I can't see you through the video, so
he's standing right now on 2 boxes.
But yeah, so I wasn't really sure what my hockey career was, and I wasn't sure if I'd play college hockey, what my chances were. I was always just playing. I loved it. I gave it my all, and I loved being a leader on teams and doing things the right way. And for me, I was doing everything I could. Like, I was a player at a young age who did little things. Like, I won face-offs, I chipped pucks out. I actually wasn't like a huge points guy. I was always like top 3 on my team, but there was kids who were putting up big points. But in the last minute of the game, I'm always the guy taking the face-off. I'm always the guy getting thrown out there. And that was really sort of my identity as a player. But I was just undersized. I just couldn't compete with kids who were growing. And then I was basically, by the time I was 16, I felt like I was so far behind that I didn't have a future. And I was wondering, in hockey wasn't even really fun for me. I made Bantam A actually my first year. And, yeah. And I was just such a shrimp. And I was having coaches come up to me and say, Evan, you'd be the best player in our association, but you're a foot shorter than kids. And so I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this. I'm starting high school. I'm really not sure if this is the right thing for me. And I had an amazing coach from a different organization reach out and say, hey, do you and your buddy Eric want to come play for us? We really believe in you. And that really turned it around, where we kind of compiled a little sort of super team in Colorado, and it was a AA team, but we went to nationals, and it was really cool for me to be excited about hockey again. And then I went and played my first years of AAA. You're talking about players not even playing U18s. My first 2 years of AAA were 18s. And
wow.
Yeah. But it was a little different then, where we didn't have, there's more AAA now, I think, but yeah, I was a late bloomer.
So no AAA until 18s.
No
AAA.
AAA.
2 years of AAA. We're going to hear what comes very, very shortly after that. Where do you go after the second year of 18s?
So second year of 18s, I went and played in the Null. I'd gotten a tender there, and I pretty much got that because my U18 coach, Nick Larson, the guy that got me to DU, he basically sold me to this Null team, and he's like, this kid's not going to be the flashiest player. He's not going to put up a ton of points. He's going to put up points, but he's going to do all these things the right way. He's going to be a leader for you, all these things. And so I got a tender, and it was so exciting for me because I was a couple of years ago not even thinking about juniors or anything.
Well,
and so
I want to say this real quick. I want to interrupt you because you said my coach, he got me there. No, you got yourself there, bro. What you showed him every single day is the reason he went out on a limb and called the team and said, hey, take Ritter. This is why, blah, 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 blah. You know, like, I think a lot of young players, like, you know, they're waiting for that handout type of thing. And to me, it sounds, knowing you, you know, these last years and hearing your story, you earned him wanting to make that call.
Can I interject here really quick? Because I think this is a really important point, because I want to talk about this from the other side of it, you know, as somebody who recruited at the Division I level for a long time. And if you have somebody that you trust in midget hockey or junior hockey that comes to you with what I would imagine the fervor, let's call it, that, you know, it's Nick Larson, you said, that Nick went to the North American League, like, that means something to us. That really means something to us, because at the end of the day, when it comes to evaluating talent, like, there's a whole story that we need to uncover. And we don't see practice habits. We don't see, if you're playing junior hockey anyway, we can go on Live Barn and see it in midgets. And, you know, for all the kids out there, a lot of college coaches have Live Barn because they want to watch you practice. But like that matters. Like there are people that I know, you know, in prep hockey or junior hockey that if they come to me, like, you have to take this kid, I'm going to take that kid. Maybe not every time, but like, I'm going to do a whole heck of a lot of research and I'm going to make sure, but like that's why like surrounding yourself with really good people in youth hockey and then as you get older is so important, because when it comes to like advancement, that stuff really matters. What your coach says about you really matters, especially if your coach is, number one, like loves you, but number two, your coach is like an honest person, because there's a lot of people out there that will sell you as a college coach every kid that they have because it's going to look good on their wall and it's self-serving for their business. And then there's other coaches that'll be completely honest with you and say, hey, like this kid's not ready yet, or this kid's not the best fit for you, or this kid's great, but his parents are nuts. And they give you the unvarnished truth. And those are the people that actually advance the most kids, are the ones that are blatantly honest, because you lose trust with the people who don't sell you, you know, exactly what they have. So sorry to interject there, but like it was a really important point, I think, for coaches, players, and parents all to hear what you like this story of your coach. Like he earned the trust of the guy that he was talking to based on his passion for the game and what he does. You earned the trust with him by what you did and your work ethic and all of that. And because all of those dominoes happened, you ended up going from being a AA player 2 years earlier to going to play in the North American Hockey League. And then 2 years after that, playing at the University of Denver. It makes sense.
And where does all of that start? With you, who you are, how you chose to show up every day, the type of player you were. And guess what? You guys who listening, we heard Ritter. He was never a guy burying 150 points a year. He said he got points, top 3 on the team, but he was never the guy with all the points. He was out there at the end of the game. He's a leader. He's doing all of the little things. Toph and I just did a podcast about how important the little things are for a lot of players, skipping them. And the reason you get that opportunity is because you showed up in the right way. So I just wanted to make sure that all the young players listening understand like what you do every day in practice, how you show up, being on time, what you're saying on the bench to your teammates, body language. That's your resume that your coach is then going to be telling, you know, higher level teams about. So, you know, just that you need to know that. Sorry, proceed, Ritter.
And that kind of reminds me of your guys, the Chris Pronger podcast. You guys were talking about players playing different roles, and that's not as big of a part of youth hockey. It's obviously a huge part of the game, but it's not as emphasized in youth hockey. And as you get to the higher levels, there's so many jobs for players who are willing to play a role. And that's sort of the story of me, is that I learned how to play a role as I got to higher levels. And I've seen my friends who I played with advance to the NHL. A guy like Logan O'Connor with the Avs, he was scratched with me at Denver and has just become such an amazing role player for the Avs and won a Stanley Cup.
That's pretty sick. That's pretty sick. Love to hear that, man. Yeah. There's a spot. Teams need all different types of players. You can't just have a bunch of goal scorers. You can't just have a bunch of defensive defensemen, you know, and so whatever you bring to the game, be the freaking best at it. Own it. And it sounds like you did.
And I'm sort of the mindset, like, to have success with basically anything. And I, in my hockey, I got away from this actually when I went and played juniors. I got a lot of opportunity, and I was playing first power play at a level that was higher than I was used to. And then my game, actually, I got away from doing the little things a little bit. And when I got to DU, that's how I kind of struggled, was that then I was at DU and I was seeing guys toe drag, and the most amazing players in the country are playing there. And I was like, to play, I have to play like this. And I got away from my game of doing the little things. And so because of that, I wasn't effective. And so that's sort of a philosophy for me for anything in life. And now I do it with my company and with everything, is that you have to start with the fundamentals with what you do. You have the things that you can do right. You have to do those things right. And then you earn the opportunity to do more things, to make a move, to make an offensive play. You have to chip the pucks out there. You have to play good defensively to be able to earn that. But if you start from the point of, I'm going to earn it, I'm not going to overstep, I'm going to do the right things, you can earn it so much more quickly than if you get ahead of yourself, you have to backtrack and then get back up. And that was sort of the story of that's why I didn't play much at Denver, is because that was the route that I went.
Unreal,
we need to hear about how you got to Denver here, because we talked about it on the pre-show. So you're in the Null. What happens? What's going on here? Because this is wild.
So I had a good year in the Null. I was like on the all-star team or whatever for my division.
Wait, all-star team in the Null, but what was it? 2 years before you weren't playing AAA, or 3 years before you weren't playing AAA?
Yeah.
You guys hear that? You guys hear that? Everyone's path is different. You have to own your path. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So my rookie year, I had a good start, and yeah, I had a good year, and I was on the all-star team, and it was things. I was like, wow, this is kind of. I was getting calls from like Robert Morris, and I was like, I might play D1 at Robert Morris or like Lake State. And it's so funny looking back, like how excited I was to hear from those schools, and yeah. But so then my team, it was owned by this Japanese businessman, and the team folded. And basically I had the whole league calling me saying, hey, can you come? Do you want to play for us? And I was like looking at it, I was like, gosh, like and this is wrong, by the way, but I was looking at it thinking, gosh, like I just had a good year and had very little interest from colleges. And I had the Jersey Hitman, Toby Harris, who you're talking about, coaches who want to stack commitments so that they can pretend that it's their accomplishment. That is exactly what it was there. But I was looking at his program, and he's like, we get 20 commitments a year. And so I'm looking at it, and I'm like, maybe this is the right play. Realistically, I should have gone back to the Null. I should have gone to a team where my old coach moved to the Minnesota Wilderness, and he wanted me to come. And coaches and scouts, they need time to see players too. So I spent the year, and they got familiar with me, but what they really needed was another year to watch me and be willing to commit to me. But I jumped ship and went to the USPHL, and I had to start all over again. And that was a huge mistake. It was very lucky that I got the opportunity at Denver, and it came about because Denver got a bunch of injuries. It wasn't even on the radar. I had talked to Denver like extremely briefly when I was U18, because my U18 coach had played there in 04-05, and they were not very interested in me. I was undersized, and I was a pretty bad skater actually too. I had an ugly stride, and they had a bunch of injuries, and they didn't want to bring in one of their recruits early because it would burn a year for them. And so they were basically on the market for somebody who would walk on mid-season. And for me, I was like, absolutely, I'll come. So yeah, I joined the team in November, and yeah, that was my freshman year.
That is wild. So you just get a call. Did you just get a call out of the blue? Yeah. Like, hello, Evan, this is Denver University. Want to come play for us? And you're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Jim Montgomery, who was my coach there at school, who's now the Blues coach, he calls me. Larson calls me. He's like, hey, I think you're going to get a commitment, or I think Denver is interested. They need a guy right now. And if you get a call from Montgomery, be ready for it. And then a couple hours later, I got a call from Monty, and he was like, hey, we need a guy. We've been watching your game. We like it. And yeah, I was just like, I cannot believe this is happening. It was such an amazing thing because I grew up in Denver and that was my team.
Dude, what do you do after you get off that call? Like you went from the null, you went down a league to the USPHL. You're like, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, oh, dude, I'm going to Denver tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Wild. That's
yeah, exactly. It was so funny because I was at practice like the day before, and a kid on my team was talking about DU for some reason, and he was like, "How do you even get to Denver?" And I think at that point, Lars had called me and been like, "Hey, you might get this opportunity at Denver," and I was thinking in my head like, I might be going there in like a week. So. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. But then I stepped into Denver, and that was a step up for me, going from the USPHL to the NCHC.
So you leave there. Was it like, did you leave on a Friday? Do you remember? And then you're at practice Monday. Like, how does that look?
Probably during semester break, I would think.
Yeah, so DU's on quarters, so I couldn't start until they finished their quarter at Thanksgiving. So as soon as I told the team, they were basically like, "All right, see ya." But I still had about a month before I could go before I could play at Denver. So I was kind of in a tough spot because the New Jersey team wasn't really interested in keeping me. And so I had to drive home. And then I started skating with the U18 team that I used to play for. And yeah, I started at Denver, and I sort of hadn't skated a lot in a month, and I was coming from the USPHL. Yeah, it was a huge wake up. I was like, at that time too, like, I was 19 at the time, I was 20 at the time, like there's just a lot of maturing that has to happen at that age and to get to that level and to be able to perform at that level. Like there's guys who've been in the mode of playing with the top players in the world for years, and I just wasn't. And so I was not ready for it. And it was a huge step up for me.
Okay, we got to dive into Denver here, and the first thing I want to ask you here, I do want to get into a little bit of your journey because you ended up winning a national championship as a senior there, which had to have been just amazing. But you played for three coaches there who I would say might be three of the most respected people in the game at all levels. You got Monty, who you talked about, who. You know, for me, he was coaching in the USHL actually when I was coaching at Cornell, and so got to know him through there. And I'm not sure I've seen a coach that players will run through a brick wall for somebody more than Monty. Like, at least he's up there. So he's one. Obviously, David Carl. You know, he was an assistant there when you were there, and to see what he's done as the head coach at Denver, I mean, just absolutely incredible. And then Steve Miller. So Killer, who has won multiple national championships with multiple universities. He has been on the World Junior staff for Team USA. That's won the last 3 gold medals and is widely regarded as one of the smartest and best hockey guys out there. And I actually got a text from Killer. I texted him before coming on with you, and he said to say hello. And he said, what a worker, great teammate, big culture guy, had to go out east to play junior, dealt with adversity in his career, always pushed forward, great kid, no surprise that he's a success now. So just, I want to ask you about those 3 guys in particular, because if there's anybody that listens to the podcast that is a fan of college hockey, you know, between Monty and David and Killer, you know, those are 3, you know, they're in whatever capacity, they're kind of Mount Rushmore between Monty as a coach and as a player at Maine, David, what he's doing, Killer. Like, talk about those 3 guys that you had.
Yeah. So, okay, first I'll start with Killer, who, so he was sort of part of the old guard of DU, where Monty was in his first year when I was there. And it was a really big controversy because they had just fired Gwozdecki, and a lot of people were unhappy about it. A lot of people didn't want Monty, and Killer was part of the Gwozdecki tree. And he is the reason that I got to Denver, because him and Larson were close. Because Larson played for him in 04-05 when they won. And So Killer is the reason that he stuck his neck out for me and was just always such an amazing guy. He actually left about 3 months, I think, after I got there. Monty sort of cleaned house when he got there, and that was very controversial, but it's so challenging if you're a head coach coming in. You need to have your organization in place that you want. And Killer's an amazing guy, but I think Monty wanted to change things, and so they ended up going separate ways. But Killer has just always been so amazing. And then DC. So I remember when I first came in, we were at Miami of Ohio, and he actually came in right around the same time that I came in. He was coaching in Green Bay, and he had been coaching. Do you guys know his backstory a little bit?
Oh yeah.
So he's obviously, or not obviously. So he was a stud prospect. His brothers, Matt, Carl, and Dave was supposed to be better than him. He was a projected first round pick. And he came to DU as a true freshman. And in his medical exam, they found a heart condition. And so they couldn't clear him to play. And so he immediately started coaching, and he became a player or a student coach. And so he's like 18 years old as a coach. And that's how he's gotten so far so young. And then he went USHL, and then he got brought back to DU like a month after I did. And I remember I was in Miami of Ohio with him, and I was scratched, and I was just sitting there talking to him, and it was his first week, and I was like, "You nervous? Like, how you feeling?" He's like, "No, not at all." And I remember just being like, "What? Like, I'm so nervous. What are we doing here?" But yeah, he's an absolute legend. He's an insanely smart guy. Him and I have bonded after because he reads a lot of books. He's really interested in history and leadership from outside of hockey too. And that's what makes him such an amazing coach, is that he has a really well-rounded leadership style. And so, yeah, he was young. Like when he was there, he was with me, he was 25, 26. And now he's just become an amazing coach for them. And then our main coach, Monty, it's kind of hard to describe Monty. Like, in my opinion, he is one of the best coaches in the world. He definitely was for us at the time. And yeah, it's kind of hard to get started. Like, so him and I we didn't mesh that well. He kind of he's a very emotional guy, and he would kind of pick on guys, especially guys in the like bottom end of the lineup. He would kind of use them as punching bags a little bit. And looking back, I can see now that he was motivating us. He wanted us to be able to fight through and to get to it, to the point where we didn't take what he was throwing at us. And yeah, so he was pretty tough on a lot of us. And there was, like I was saying with the dynamics, there was the old guard when we got there, they did not want him. The upperclassmen didn't want to play for his system. And so that was a big challenge for our team. But his systems, his hockey knowledge, his ability to bring a group together, by the time we were seniors, our group was by far the closest team I've ever been on. We're still so close. There's so many guys on that team that I'll probably never make another friend as good as some of those guys. And getting through that and winning that national championship, like we were the number 1 seed all year. And yeah, being a part of that team I felt like it set me off for the rest of my life to just accomplish things from that.
Some major quotes right there, man. I'll probably never make another friend as good as the guys on that team. That team set me up for success for the rest of my life. I mean, that's why we love the game of hockey right there. That is why. That's why, we do this podcast, is try to get people to understand the things that you learn in the game and the places it takes you, the people you get to meet, the way that it shapes you as a leader, as a human being, can positively affect you the rest of your life. Those are probably the best quotes we've heard on our podcast. And
man, I mean, obviously you guys know my passion for team building and culture. And I do, when I work with teams, I ask them 3 questions and I say, if you can answer yes to all 3 of these questions, you have a chance to win a championship. And the first question is, are you the closest team in the country? Have to be. You have to be. I've never been a part of a team or worked with any team that didn't win a championship that wasn't tight. Yeah. At the rink, away from the rink, loved each other, loved the logo on the front of the jersey. That's the number one question we go through and work on. And if you want to win a championship, you have to. You absolutely have to. And what I want to ask you with that, Ritter, is it takes everybody, right? Like, to win a national championship, it takes everybody, and everybody has a different story. Everybody has a different journey to get to where they are in that year that they win a national championship. And having, had some success as a player and a coach, being to Frozen Fours, being at the tournament, working at Cornell in Miami and Michigan, you see certain things that translate. Consistencies within those programs, and especially the years within those programs where you do really, really well. And I am a huge, huge believer that players like yourself, who are older players, who maybe didn't play much their first couple years, great locker room guys, work their ass off, hold the high standard in practice. You can't win without guys like that. You can't. I think about, our team that we had at Michigan. Everybody likes to talk about, Fantilli and Luke Hughes and the studs that we had on that team. There's a lot of them playing in the NHL right now, but we don't win without the Nolan Moyles and the Keaton Pearsons and guys like that, who weren't necessarily putting points up on the score sheet. They were in and out of the lineup at different times of their career. We don't win without those guys. And so, like, for you, looking back at that time, especially, not playing very much your first 3 years that you're there, and then you play almost every game your final year at Denver when you guys win a national championship. Can you talk a little bit about what your role was on the team, your journey to get to that role, and how important, I know you're a humble guy, but like, how important you think your journey and role was to you guys winning at the end of the day? Because more people listening to this podcast by a long shot are going to be an Evan Ritt, not a Henrik Borgstrom or a Troy Terry, So talk a little bit about that if you can.
Well, so like going into my senior year, even then I was a question mark for the coaches, and so I came in as basically a Band-Aid for the team. But every year the assistant coaches in college hockey, basically your entire job is recruiting. And so they bring in their guys, or at least that's how it was at Denver. And every year,
that's how it is everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. And every year, and rightfully so, because those kids are getting big scholarships and yada, yada, but those kids are getting the first opportunities. And so every season I was starting at literally the bottom of the lineup. And it was, so I didn't play much. So freshman year I played a little bit, just because we needed guys. But then sophomore year I didn't play a game. I might have played one game in the NCHC tournament, like a consolation game that didn't matter. But then junior year didn't play at all. Basically, the coaches were basically just like, this kid is a good culture guy. He works hard. He's a great kid, but we're just not really interested in investing. And honestly, they didn't even. Okay, so first of all, I wasn't ready, but they also didn't really know my game. Like Larson Larson was always talking to Monty, and he's like, you should put Ritter in. Like, you guys are 40% on faceoffs. He's like a 60% faceoff guy. And Monty was like, what? He plays center? And Lars is like, yeah, like, come on. So
what? He plays center?
Yeah. So I just had my back against the wall there. Like, I just got no opportunity. I had no confidence. I wasn't in a position to succeed. It was basically all on me. But by the time I got like to my junior year, I'd put on 20 pounds. I'd played in the system, and I was like, I think I can play. Like, I always had the belief in myself. I was like, I can play at this level. I just hadn't got the opportunity yet. And then after my junior year, I was like, Monty, can I get, I had an amazing summer of training, and I was feeling so good. And I thought, I was thinking, I was like, I'm finally going to be in the lineup. Like, everybody sees how hard I'm working. Everybody sees how much I'm progressing. I'm about to be like fourth line. Here we go. I'm excited. And I was like, Monty, could I get 5 minutes just to talk about like what you need from me this year, what kind of role I could play, just to get on the same page. And he's like, Ritter, I love you. So yeah, come on up here. And I go to his office, and he's like, I wouldn't show the guys this, but I'll show you because I like you. And he opens up his board with all the lines on it. And I'm the fifth line. I'm on the fifth line. He's like, Ritter, I don't see you playing much this year, but I'm really hoping I can get you in on senior night. And if we're in a playoff race, I don't know if that's going to happen. And I was just like, I remember leaving that room, and I was just like, he doesn't see it. He doesn't see me. He doesn't see what I'm doing. He doesn't see where I'm at. And that's okay. But I'm getting in that lineup. And then I had sort of a fortuitous start to the year. Like, in some preseason games, I actually scored a couple goals, and they're like, all right, we'll throw him in fourth line. And then they're like, oh wow, he actually is winning faceoffs. Oh, this is kind of cool. And so then I start playing 5 minutes a game, and then they're like, oh wow, he actually defensively he positions really well. He supports the puck really well. He's low and slow really well. We could throw him out there for a D zone faceoff. And so I just sort of started to accumulate responsibilities. And by the end of the year, I was PK. Our line was actually a really impactful line. In the Frozen Four, in the semifinal game, we had 3 goals. I had a goal and an assist, and our line did amazing. And I had people text me. They're like, if you guys win, your guys' line is a huge part of this. And it was true. Like, our team just had roles for everybody. We had our Troy Terrys, we had our Dylan Gambrells, our Henrik Borgstroms, our Will Butchers, but our third and fourth lines could do a lot of damage too. And yeah, it was like you guys were talking about with Chris Pronger. It was like, we learned how to win. We learned how to win and do the right things. For us to win, our fourth line, we'd win the faceoff. We'd break out of the zone. We'd dump it in. We'd pound the defense in the corner. We'd grind in the corners. We'd get a faceoff, and then the first line would go out there. And like, we were a machine by the end of the year.
Wow. Dude, it's so cool. So tell me about, like, thinking about your journey, man. You know, I have not been fortunate to win a national championship, but I've been close. And, you know, looking back at those years, obviously you would trade the result for a national championship, but you wouldn't trade the experience that you have going through all of that with guys that you love and run through a brick wall for. But especially for someone like you who didn't play a ton, played AAA starting at 18 years old in Colorado, you know, junior hockey experience, there's things you would go back and do differently. Everything that happened, even with your mom passing away at 16, you know, and then getting the opportunity to play at the Frozen Four, score a goal and an assist in the semifinal game to get you to the finals and then win a national championship. Reflecting upon that right now, like, I'll just leave it to you here. Like, how just incredible is that?
Oh, it was so amazing. And like, it gave me so much confidence that I worked through that and was able to, it was like, I remember after it happened, I remember just thinking, after we won the national championship, I remember like a couple days later, just thinking like, it worked. Like, doing the right things worked. I'm on top of the world. Like, I remember it was like a perspective shift where for my entire youth, I was looking at other players thinking like, oh, those kids playing U16 AAA, like they're like doing things the right way. I'm like just kind of doing my own thing. I was always looking at like, oh, these kids in the USHL, like they're the real players. Like I'm like whatever I'm doing. And then we win a national championship and I was just kind of like, no, like this is the way to do it. This is the way to win. And we kind of always, because we played BU that year, and BU always has their first round picks. That they had like Clayton Keller and a bunch of guys, and they always get the guys with the big ego guys. And we absolutely dominated them that year. I remember we always just referred to it as like, that's the difference between a team of individuals and a team that's like a real team is what we were. And so getting to that point where I had the validation of like, I won a national championship, and I learned that doing things the right way will get you results. And even if you don't win a national championship, playing in a way that is the right way to play, that is the winning way, that's the way to do it. And that's kind of what has taken me, like, that's made me successful with my business now is I'm like, I don't care about what everybody's saying. I don't care. Everybody's telling me I have to use AI to get my marketing, my social media. I have to hire these people. I have to get email stuff set up. And I'm like, no, I'm doing things the way that I know how to do it by me doing things the right way that I think people are going to agree with, like that people are going to appreciate. Like I think about customer experience because I don't have to prove to anybody. I'm like, I already won. I've already done this thing where like I've accomplished it and I did it in the right way and it felt so good. And so now I'm like, I'm going to do it again, but start from the beginning and do all those things from the beginning. So yeah, that's kind of,
dude, I don't even know if you saw, but like I started tearing up a little bit just hearing you talk about that stuff. And like, I think for a couple different reasons. I think number one, just thinking about the college teams that I have played for or worked with that almost got there, and just those memories coming back up, thinking about Frozen Fours and tournaments and stuff and championships. But also, you know, I think all of us, and I would imagine most, if not all people listening at some point in their lives have been counted out, you know, have been, you know, it's funny, dude, like as you're talking and I'm learning more about your story, like my favorite movie growing up was Rudy. Like I watched it
I almost started chanting Rudy 5 minutes ago.
Seriously. But like, it's like Ritter, like a little bit, honestly, like, you know, your story is very similar where, you know, you're a fan of this team growing up, you end up walking on after, you know, some tough stuff and some tough experiences, and you don't play at all. And it's hard. And you go into the freaking coach's office and, you know, like, I want to play. And he basically is kind of like, nah, you know, but you earned, and you got to play more than Rudy did. He only got like 3 snaps or whatever it was. And you got to be a part of winning a national championship. But it's just, this has been one of my favorite conversations that we've had in a long time. And I think a lot of it is because it's so relatable to me, certainly, but I would imagine a lot of people listening, because like I said, like at different points in all of our lives, we've been doubted, we've been counted out. And that's why having these types of conversations with the platform that we have are so important, especially for all the kids that are listening that maybe even haven't gone through the adversity yet. It's coming. You know, it's coming. And just to hear you not make excuses, to hear you persevere. Like that's where success comes from, guys. It ain't like, sure, talent's a part of it, but dude, like Ritter, like kids, like he played freaking double A hockey up until 18 and got a little lucky, with injuries at Denver. And that's why he ended up there. But you took that opportunity and you ran with it. And God, like, it's so relatable and so amazing. And you're just making people better right now, buddy. Vex, like, what do you think, man? Like,
I mean, it's so funny. I was literally like about to start saying,
it's such a funny comparison.
But I mean, it's just like, it's so cool, dude. It's so cool because, Toph is a small business owner. I'm a small business owner. You're a small business owner. We're all trying to grow our things, and I believe, I obviously know Toph really well, and I believe he does it the right way. And there's tons of things that Toph could do to make way more money, but maybe they aren't the right way. And so he doesn't do them. And I respect the absolute shit out of that, and the way that you do things and your personal touch. And also, like, I remember, I've known you for a few years now. You first sent me a pair of shoes, maybe 3 years ago, maybe 4. I don't even know.
Yeah.
And so I've been following your journey since then. And to see, the factory messed up this. So now it's going to be another 8 weeks to get another one. And then we'll figure it out from there. And me with my business, like the game of hockey allowed me to learn all these lessons where, I can see that we're all using them now, just hearing what you went through. I know how you're using that in your business when tough things come up, like I got kicked in the teeth a few, maybe 2 weeks ago with some business stuff. And I just paused and I was like, I had an employee kind of freaking out. And I was like, yo, dude, chill. There's no problems. There's only solutions. All right. Because I knew for my hockey career, the worst thing ever happening, whatever that is, got over it, found a way to get over, around, or through, and was able to keep playing. And I know that business is going to be the same way. And there's so many people that maybe don't have those life lessons from the game of hockey to lean on and look back to. And I think we are so freaking lucky to have those. And I think that's why we're all, having the success that we are and why we're going to have even more success in the future. It's all because of what we learned in hockey, in my opinion,
If I can add on to that. So my customer service girl now, Cheyenne D'Arcangelo, she plays in the PWHL for Ottawa. And she's been such an amazing person to work with because she's a high-level hockey player and she has been through a lot too, and she gets it. And so we've had some huge things happen where, like, an order of 5,000 shoes come and half of them are made with the wrong mesh. And I'm like, as the owner, I'm like, it's a lot for me to manage with that. But her and I together, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is her and I just have these conversations where we say, we're going to have troubles. We're going to have adversity. We're going to have worse troubles than this, but we know from playing hockey, from getting kicked in the teeth, from all these ways, from our youth careers and wherever we've been, like, we can get through this. And so we as a team are going to be a tight bunch. We're not going to freak out. We're not going to lose faith. We're going to use this to get stronger. And so for me, I'm like, it's really hard for me to work with people who aren't of that mindset. Like, people come in and out and I'm like, I can't work with you. It's like, there's too much. We've got too much to do together. Like, I need the strength in this group. So,
dude, absolutely love that. It's the reason that my goal is to primarily only hire guys who train with me, and I have so many guys who are in pro right now or in college who are like, when I'm done with hockey, like, if there's a job with you, I would love to keep doing what you're doing because of what it's done for me in my life. And I want to pass that on and I love it and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I only want guys that know how to battle because business is like hockey. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. You can't get too high. You can't get too low. If you mess up, I want the guy who stands up in the locker room and says, hey guys, I messed up. I took a bad penalty. I'm not going to let that happen again this summer, or I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do something to make up for it, boys. I got you. Like, I'm sorry about that. Like, I want people to look in the mirror and are like, what can I do? And a lot of people in the world are always pointing fingers at everybody else. There's not a lot of people standing up and taking responsibility and saying, I'll put it on my back. Let's go. Hockey players do.
And a lot of people just don't know how to work. Like a lot of like Cheyenne's, her like baseline output is like 10x anybody else that I've worked with. And
she's a current pro athlete.
While she's a current pro, yeah. But in my eyes, I'm like, yeah, that's like normal too. So yeah, that's a part of it as well.
Well, tell us a little bit, to kind of end this here. You've developed and founded a shoe company that's really, really cool. If you go to the website and see the story and everything like that, like anybody, it's pretty inspiring. It's like, it's this podcast that we've just been doing for the past hour. But talk a little bit about your shoe company, Tolos, and just kind of why you started it and what kind of company it is.
Okay. So, yeah, so Tolos so we're a barefoot shoe company, and it's kind of like the initial reaction to that is it's not a toe shoe company. But that's sort of that's like the market of barefoot shoes right now is like toe shoes and weird shoes. And when I was playing in France, when I was playing with Lurgy Jeff, I got super into, I went out there and I was like, I'm not going to make a career. Like, I'm not making that much money out here. Like, I got to have a life after this. And so I was like, I'm going to be productive, whatever that looks like. And I just got really into, I read a lot. I listened to a ton of podcasts, and I started getting a bunch of injuries actually. And the European medical staffs over there, I was on my own basically. And so I was kind of searching for things myself. So I started getting really into like health stuff, listening to podcasts. And one of the things that got mentioned was barefoot shoes. It wasn't like I was like, I am laser focused on barefoot shoes. Like I had to marinate on it for a long time. But one of the things that I heard was barefoot shoes. And I remember at the time I was wearing Converse, and I looked down, and like Converse have like the tiny little toe box. And I was like, ooh, maybe they're right about that. Like I should look into that. And so I'm like Googling barefoot shoes. And this was in like 2018, 2019 or something. And there's no cool barefoot shoes. There's like a European brand. There's a US brand that is not the coolest. I really don't want to poo-poo on my competition, but that's been sort of the theme of the barefoot shoe market, is that there's not very good designs. And I was always looking at it thinking, I'm playing pro hockey right now, and I want this shoe to train in, but I don't want to wear any of these shoes. And so I was just looking at the market. I wasn't actually initially thinking I'm going to start a shoe company, because I was like, where do I even start with that? What is that even? How do I do that? But then years went by, and I sort of have a philosophy with businesses and starting businesses that it's actually really good to marinate on ideas and not to jump in too quick, and to take at least like a year and a half. And actually, instead of if you're like trying to think of ideas, it's better to think back on what are the ideas that have popped up for you over and over and over again for the last 2 years, because that proves that nobody has come into the market to do what you're doing, that you have probably been paying attention to the market. And so you know all the competition, you know exactly where to enter the market. And so, yeah, once I got done playing, and really quick, actually, like what all a barefoot shoe is, let me just show one real quick. So this area is called the toe box of the shoe, and this shape is just anatomical. So just trying to get a toe box that's shaped like a foot, and then they're flat. Most shoes have like a cushioned sole, and it kind of tips you forward. It just kind of shifts everything. And the last thing is that it's very thin and flexible, so it moves like a foot. And the whole idea is just to try to let your foot be a foot rather than supplement your foot. There's sort of this culture now where it's like pharma versus nature, where it's like, you have some sort of thing where you need pills, you need, like, you go to the doctor and you have something and they give you orthotics for your feet. It's like there's all this patching going on in the medical system. And the direction that I'm going is sort of heal yourself, take control of yourself. And it's a little difficult right now for the mass public to transition to barefoot shoes because everybody's been wearing normal shoes. And it's the analogy I give is like, if you've been wearing a sling on your arm, you break your arm or something, you wear a sling, everybody knows that 6 weeks later, your muscles have atrophied, you're weaker, you can't move it as well. Well, for our feet, we've been essentially wearing casts for 30, 40 years. And so it takes a long time to build that up. But it's the mindset of, do you want to build up for yourself, or do you want to keep patching and basically perpetuate what's going on? So I was looking at that. I was like, I'd like to solve this issue, but there just isn't a cool barefoot shoe. There's not a shoe that athletes can attach to. There's not a shoe that I can wear as somebody who doesn't want to look like I'm from The Hobbit or something, like
Krusty the Clown.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But, and your shoes have done that, dude. Like your shoes, even your first round of shoes that you sent me, whenever that was, 2020. I don't know when that was.
22.
Like, they were already, I started wearing barefoot shoes when I went over to Europe my first year. So I think that was like 2014. And they were ugly. They were ugly. I would only wear them in the gym, because I had realized through, starting my training company and training guys and my own body, like, oh, dude, I feel way better when I'm walking around barefoot. I feel way better when I train barefoot, other than sprinting. Then if there's grass, I'll sprint on grass barefoot. But other than that, wear shoes for that. But everything else, and all of a sudden my knees started feeling better. My lower legs got way stronger, which is really important in hockey. And it was strictly just because, like you said, I was out of the sling, metaphorically, and those muscles started working better. And then everything, my back stopped hurting, everything up the chain. And that's when I personally, in the gym, got obsessed with, oh yeah, well, every time we move, our foot is touching the ground. And so I would use the analogy or the metaphor, the visual of showing people, like, let's invert your ankle hardcore. Now imagine stepping like that thousands of times a day. What does that ripple effect have at the ankle, knee, hip, spine, neck, shoulder, all because of the way your foot's hitting the ground? And guess what, people? I hope you guys are listening and you start to look around and look at people's shoes and look at what it's doing to their ankles and how they're standing and the tread pattern on the heel and the stupid, disgusting, ugly 3-inch Hokas, and like you're walking around with these stupid, ugly pillows on your feet or orthotics. It's not what you need, and it's not helping you.
You've been really big on that for a long time. Like, it all starts with the feet.
That's how I became friends with Ritter. Is I don't know if I reached out to him or somebody's like, hey, you got to check out this guy. He went to Denver. And I was like, bro, these things are sick. I have so many pairs. Tons of my guys.
I got one of those little like lacrosse balls, the like massage balls that are not massagers. They kill when you put it on your tight muscles. And I do it with my feet and I want to scream. Like, I legit want to scream. It hurts so bad because my feet, and it's just like, okay, what's going on here? My feet are so tight or something's going on. Like,
it's your shoe, dude. Especially you have very wide Hobbit-esque feet. Won't lie to you. So like normal
they're
shoes,
like squares.
Dude, they are.
Yeah.
They are really. Normal shoes for you are the devil. Like, you got to get a pair of these Tolos, dude. I'm telling you.
Vicky Valancourt is the devil.
Yeah. Use discount code GMBM. What's up?
Well, Ritter, tell our listeners where they can find your website, social media, all that kind of stuff, because I know, Vex, like, you've been talking about this for years. It all starts at the feet and it works its way up. And obviously this is a shoe that you really, really believe in. And how cool is it that we get to have you, Ritter, on this podcast to share your hockey story, but also, something that can, from a health standpoint, help a lot of people too with the shoes that you guys have. So where can we find you? Let us know.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you guys for having me. Great to finally meet you in person or meet you face to face here. But yeah, you can find me on my website, Wear Tolos, WEARTOLOS, or the Instagram is at Tolos. I don't really like selling the shoes. I'm really trying to not be like sales and pushy. So if you don't want to try them, no worries. If you try them and they're a little difficult for you because of the things we talked about, where you're used to other shoes, no worries. But like we talked about, I think it's a huge developmental advantage, especially if you're a young athlete who is growing. If you can get into these shoes early, your lower body is just going to develop so much more naturally. And this is all sort of I really am trying to help people come into alignment and to be a complete hockey player, a balanced hockey player, a balanced person. And so the earlier you can get in doing this, the better set up you're going to be. So we just did a team deal with the T-Birds, actually, the Colorado T-Birds. So if anybody is listening and they're interested in getting their team some, I can give you a good deal on it. If you want to just get a code for your organization, we can do that. Or I don't know, however I can help out with youth organizations. I'm really trying to get in with the kids because I think that's the most important step for it. So
Lovely.
Yeah, I'll kind of leave it there.
Awesome.
Making the game better, brother. I love it. Well, this was one of my favorite conversations we've had, man. I appreciate you coming on. We're going to keep you for a couple more minutes to do a 10 questions that'll be housed in our HTTU Hockey Think Tank U community. Over 250 coaches and parents that are passionate about the game, sharing ideas and getting some awesome new stuff from us as well. But dude, this was a great conversation. A lot of people it's going to resonate with, I'm sure. And thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has a new customer offer. Bet player props, bet live. From the opening faceoff to the final horn, every moment matters. New DraftKings customers bet just $5 and you'll get $100 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN so you're ready for the moment. That's code THPN. Turn $5 into $100 in bonus bets instantly. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer. Copyright 2026. NHL. All rights reserved.